Hi and welcome to this week's webinar on how to grow bookers by destination with 3 tactics for 2019. My name is Emma Moorman, I'm the Senior Product Manager at Hitwise, and I'll be taking you through those top tactics over the next 10 minutes. So firstly, before I begin, just a little bit about who we are to set some of the context for some of the insights I'm going to take you through today. Hitwise has been around for around 20 years, and our business is about measuring the digital environment, and that's about looking at performance, competition, understanding those online behaviours, looking at the who behind the behaviours, looking at those audiences, and looking to see how you can track and improve on your campaign performance and get the best return on your investments. So that's a little bit about who we are. As I said, the core today is to take you through 3 kind of takeaways to take into 2019 for the travel industry. So the first one is looking at how we can develop a Brexit strategy. The second is around how we convert those browsers to bookers, and also importantly how we actually distinguish those 2 groups. And then finally, looking at targeting new audiences by location, and this specifically is looking at locations within the UK, so where people actually live. So first up, developing a Brexit strategy. So it's there's no silver bullet here. I don't have an answer to how we get around this, but I think what's important to call out is that the travel industry is clearly by no means the only one affected by the changes that we're going through politically in the UK. Retail industry particularly is suffering as people begin to kind of hold back on big spends at the moment and a little bit more cautious. Searches around Brexit have risen by over 300% year on year, which just gives a little bit of insight into how engaged people are currently, how much front of mind of a concern this is. And really what we can, the only thing I think we can do within this space is to begin to understand what Brexit really means to our particular audiences, our particular brand, and how that might inform some of the ways that we might engage with those particular groups. So what do I mean by that? So what we're looking at here is who is most affected in terms of brands by those that are engaged within search. So what we're searching for Brexit. So what we're looking at here is different brands: Ryanair, Marriott, Netflights, and what we're looking at is those brands and the propensity of people visiting those brands online who are also searching for Brexit search variations, related terms. And what that begins to tell us is how strongly and how important Brexit is a front of mind when we're thinking about decisions for each of these brands. So, for example, something like Warner Leisure is pretty flat against the rest of the online population. There isn't a huge amount that we're kind of seeing there and saying, okay, Brexit's front of mind for this group. Whereas for something like Ryanair, Marriott, we're seeing that this is upwards of kind of 2.5 times more likely these visitors to also be searching for Brexit. So really the takeaway here is to understand what this means for your brand and understand what it means for your competitor set as well. What is that relationship? Zooming up just to look at the overall industry, one of the kind of key things we've seen within the search data is that the key destination searches that we normally see around this time of year, so this is looking at the beginning of January for the first 4 weeks, around our kind of European destinations of Spain, France, looking at those islands like Mallorca, has actually been year on year some significant declines in those searches. What we're seeing is that within those top pricing is much more far-reaching exotic destinations that are rising. So we can see places like Barbados, Bora, Qatar are right up there and seeing big increases. And also, interestingly, Turkey is actually picking up year-on-year traffic as well. And so what this potentially is saying to us is that people are looking for a better deal perhaps against the pound. And again, the takeaway here is to understand what's driving some of these searches and looking at those variations and those audiences to see, is it about the best pound? Is it because people are concerned that their holidays won't be protected within the EU if we go for a hard Brexit? And I think that's really the key takeaway is what could this mean for you, and what does it mean for these destinations as well. So taking a step back in from that zoom out at the industry level, what we're looking at here is particular hotel pages for booking.com, and having a look within those kind of country, places, destination pages within their site. So what we saw before was some of those industry shifts that were happening, and now as we talk around, is that takeaway for you is to then understand where your place sits within that. So booking.com as an example, we can see pretty flat year on year for the UK. And then we can see that they've got some declines on Cyprus and Malta. Interestingly, a decline on Turkey. So as we saw in that previous slide, Turkey has seen that year-on-year increase, so perhaps not picking up as much of that opportunity as they could be. And we can also see within that industry trend as well, they are picking up things like the US travel, the Indian travel as well. So as I said, the takeaway is kind of going from that industry and then understanding within that how you're leveraging that opportunity, and certainly how your competitors are doing so as well. So before we move on to the second takeaway, which is around the browsers versus the buyers and how we convert more, just a very brief moment to talk about how we collect and model these audiences. So really, how do we define those browsers versus the bookers? So the way that Hitwise data works is we're unpacking URLs on a daily basis. We're streaming all this URL data, all this clickstream data, search behavior through our multiple partners. And what that allows us to be able to do is to unpack that URL to begin to understand more granular detail around people's intent and people's behaviours. And so in the example we're looking at here on Skyscanner, what it enables us to be able to do is to look at specifics around not just traffic through to Skyscanner, but to be able to understand the destination someone was searching for, so in this case London to Colombo, who they were actually searching for, so how many adults and children, and also within that URL we can also see the class of air travel that they were looking for as well. So this is taking us that step further than just the basic travel numbers, and being able to understand a little bit more about that intent behind that. So with that in mind, what that allows us to do in this context of browsers, buyers and visitors is to use particular destination pages within a site to be able to define those. So in the example we're looking at here, we take Amazon visitors. There's just people who've gone through to the Amazon site but have not then perhaps browsed through to particular products, certainly not purchased. We can then create groups of audiences who have then gone to view product pages, specific product pages, but never went through to a product confirmation page to say that they actually purchased it. And then finally, we can take that group of people who did go through to that purchase products page, which, as I said before, is all taken through that URL. And now we're looking at three very distinct groups of types of people and their behavior. And that's where things can get really interesting, to begin to understand intent, understanding why those browsers may not convert. We can take a look at that in a little bit more detail now. So converting those browsers to bookers. The example we're going to look at is Airbnb. And Airbnb, we can see from the data here, we're looking at those summer months, July through to September. And what we can see during that period, their peak periods, and we can see the number of unique users that are coming through to their sites. And what we can do with that is take those two groups of the browsers versus the bookers and begin to understand what kind of volumes we have around those. So in this example, we can see July, August, around 2.3 million people coming through. And of those browsers, we can see around 280,000 people are actually converting. And so with those kind of volumes and numbers, to just move the point a little bit on that percentage conversion could really mean quite an increase, significant increase for Airbnb. So taking it that step further is, now I know those browsers that I've got coming through to my site, and where else are they going? Where do I lose them to? So using the clickstream data, we can have a look at those Airbnb browsers. So this isn't just Airbnb visitors, it's not the people who've purchased, these are the people that browsed but never converted. And we can look and say, okay, well, where did they go next within their journey? And what we can see within this period is that by far the majority went back through to Google for search. A proportion went through to booking.com, HomeToGo and lastminute.com. What we can see in that kind of September, August period, looking in comparison, is that actually we saw a pretty significant decline within Google and a small decline within booking.com. And what we saw was that HomeToGo and lastminute.com really picked up a large portion of that downstream traffic from Airbnb. So this tactic, this kind of takeaway here is really understanding who your browsers are, the people that don't convert, and find out exactly where you're losing them to. So not just those visitors and where they go next, this is specifically those browsers. And we can take it a step even further now by taking those Airbnb browsers and going to have a look what they did next within my competitor sites, so booking.com, HomeToGo and lastminute.com, and we can look at the key search terms that were performing with each of those sites to begin to understand perhaps where it was that we were missing. So for example, with booking.com, we can see very generic searches around kind of hotels, Amsterdam, hotels, Brighton, whereas HomeToGo is starting to hint towards a little bit more luxury, a little bit more unique travel around, bungalows with pools, specific rentals. And then lastminute.com is very much on price point. It's around those cheap hotels, the package deal. So just like our buyers, we're really thinking about using those target keywords that the browsers are searching for on competitor sites, thinking about how we could use that within our PPC campaigns, thinking about content opportunities as well. So the final takeaway that I wanted to talk through today was around targeting new audiences by location. And as I said at the beginning, by location, what we're talking about here is where exactly people live within the UK and how that might affect the way that we try to run outreach acquisition campaigns within our campaign period. So first example that we're going to have a look at, what we're looking at here is visitors coming through to generic kind of travel sites, and then visitors coming through to holiday package sections of the site. So again, thinking back to how we break down that URL, within this view, we are looking at the holiday package pages within a number of the big online agents here, so like TUI and Expedia, etc. And what we're doing is running them against the postal area data that we have set within our database as well. And we're looking to see where or which postal areas under index or over index for these types of destinations. And what we can see here is that for the holiday package visitors, it is over indexing in places like Manchester, Birmingham, Lincoln, Bournemouth, where we're seeing that kind of under index in Reading, Oxford and London, for example. So that begins to tell us a little bit about, overall where particular, this could be destinations. As we said, it could be types of holiday. We could look at luxury pages as well as these package destinations. And then what we could do here is take it that step further again, is use the search to identify those trending destinations by those target audience. So what we're looking at here is the holiday package audience in Oxford, in this example. So people in Oxford who've been looking at the holiday package pages. And we can begin to then pick out exactly what destinations they were searching for and what kind of travel related terms they were using. So in this example, we can see that Malaga, Sorrento has been very high, and types of kind of travel related terms they're using is around holiday rentals. It's about all inclusive. So using that then to drive PPC, to optimize on search, think about content that you could use to develop within blogs, social, within your site. The other kind of web behaviour we can then look at is, well, what else are this group of people doing? And these are just two very simple examples that you could take away straight away, is to look at other travel sites they're looking at, so Skyscanner, eBookers, so thinking about those competitive sets, and then also the media sites that they're looking at. So again, thinking about which publisher sites are really going to resonate with this group, where should you host display ads, what are the kind of partners that you may want to consider. So the key takeaways then that we've just talked through today. So first up, Brexit is absolutely impacting all players differently, whether it's at an industry level or it's at a brand level. So the real importance here is understanding what Brexit means to your audience, how important it is, and the types of concerns that they may be having that you could perhaps deal with within your content or think about within your acquisition campaigns as well. Get to know your browsers as well as your bookers. We tend to get very fixed on our overall visit numbers, but really beginning to understand the people that don't convert versus that do convert, and understanding what else are they doing, where do they go next, and what other searches are they performing, where are you potentially losing out and could do better on your conversions. Then using that clickstream, as we just said, using the clickstream and search data to win them back, thinking about the best place for that acquisition, the best content to really engage with them. And then finally, thinking about how to target audiences by location. So what opportunities are there when we start to break our audiences down by postal area? What might that look like? How could that inform campaign as well? And using that additional digital behaviour data to acquire those new bookers, thinking about where is best to target them, where are your best partnerships, where are you going to get your best ROI. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully there's some good stuff for you to take away. If you've got any questions, please do reach out to us. Email address on this slide. Other than that, have a great day. Thank you.